Good morning and welcome to Today in LA. I'm Bill Rice, Jr. To my left is Coach Forrest Lee. And pretty soon we'll probably be getting a phone call from the two Mike Amoses at their respective beach homes, beach houses. But until then, Forrest, let's me and you just see if we can pull off a show.
Well, it's a little wet outside, but here's the first caller. That's probably Big Mike.
Good morning and welcome to Today in LA.
Good morning. How you doing?
Hey, well, your ears must be burning because about 8 seconds earlier I said we're going to be getting the call from the two Mike Amoses.
Well, that's right. Of course, I'm calling from the beautiful shores of the Gulf in Panama City Beach, Florida. It's sort of overcast here this morning.
It's raining a little bit here, a little misty rain.
Yeah, it rained yesterday too.
Yes, sir. It rained yesterday as well.
I think our mini drought has broken. We had the wettest, January and February we probably ever had, and then we go a month with no rain, and now we're getting it about every day.
Yeah, well, I tell you how it doesn't bother me as far as keeping everything cool and so forth. I like the sun to come out, but I can live with it right now. It's beautiful down here.
Mike, we got some good news. I read it on in the Dothan Eagle that Emily Gracie Scarborough has received the Jimmy Rain Foundation scholarship to Auburn University. She'll be a sophomore, and each of those recipients, they named 40. There were about 11 in this area of Alabama, Abbeville, Godothan. But Gracie from Troy, Alabama, a graduate of Charles Henderson. Her parents are Frank Scarborough and Joy Scarborough. And each recipient will receive between $500 and $5,000 depending on their needs for the next 8 semesters. And
good morning. Is this Michael?
Yeah, it's Michael.
All right, let me see if I can get your dad back on. Let's see.
Okay, listen.
All right, now we got the two Mike Amoses, a double dose of Amos.
Amos.
Good morning, young Mike. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Hoping the rain will go away down here. Kind of a washout yesterday.
Yeah, well, it was overcast, but we didn't really get a lot of rain yesterday. But the temperatures are supposed to be good right now. I think we're talking about the mid 80s.
Yeah, I went to the grocery store down here yesterday, and there's about 1,000 people there. It felt like everybody had a shopping cart that was full, and then some people had 2 shopping carts full. And I was just thinking to myself, man, I wish all these people would have just bought groceries before they came down here.
Hey, the grocery store is happy they didn't. What percentage were wearing the mask, Michael?
It was a little better yesterday, but that makes me think it was more people that were down here on vacation, more tourists wearing the mask. It seems like hardly any locals wear masks that I've seen.
I tell you what, that's not being very responsible. They need to wear the mask if they can.
Did you see the?
Ran into a kid I grew up with on Crow Hill, Trot Brown, yesterday. So you just run into all kinds of people from Troy down here.
Trot lives down here. Is that right?
Yeah, him and Mark, and they have a Citadel Roofing Company down here after the hurricanes. They built a roofing company down here. Mark did, and they've done really well.
Michael, you weren't on the line yet, but Forrest was telling us that a local young lady, Gracie Scarborough, has received a scholarship from Jimmy Rain, the yellow fella, that is going to pay her a lot of money for the remainder of her college career.
Well, that is wonderful. And of course, Jimmy Rain has done a lot for a lot of people, I'll tell you that. And we appreciate it very much.
I read that he is the richest man in Alabama. And you're right, he has done a lot of for the state. Matter of fact, a good friend of mine, Sandy Huggins Lee, a classmate of mine at Charles Henderson High School, she's one of his key employees at his business in Abbeville.
Yeah, I was going to say he's from Abbeville, Alabama, and his parents moved down there from up north. I don't know the whole story, but he got started, and he's the one that made that saying famous. If it don't say, the old Osmos commercial. If it doesn't say Osmos on the yellow tag, believe you me, you don't want it.
You know who actually came up with that, Mike?
Yeah, who was it?
Guy that went to Troy University for a while. He's from Montgomery and was a Sigma Nu at Alabama most of his college career. An advertising executive named Slat Slayton that was in Rush's pledge class. Great guy.
Well, isn't that amazing?
But he came up with that campaign, which is, made a huge difference in their business. And he represented the yellow fella and did all those commercials for more than a decade.
I tell you what, one thing you could be assured of with Jimmy Rainey is that he was going to advertise his businesses, and he's a great example of, if you advertise the right way, you're going to be very, very successful, and he sure has been very successful.
He advertises, and now the guy that advertises more than anybody is Alexander Sonara, the lawyer out of Murray Hill.
I've thought all of these media companies, billboard companies, TV stations, radio stations, boy, they'd be in a world of hurt if they didn't have that fella advertising with them every 22 minutes.
Yeah, I hear that he spends over $250,000 a month in advertising.
Let's don't throw out any figures. We can't justify that.
Well, I mean, it's unbelievable, though. You see his billboards all over the Southeast now.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder how many billboards he has advertised on since he started advertising. Tens of thousands.
Yeah. I don't know. I know the guy out of Dothan. His son went to school with me at Troy. Bill Durden. I know Durden out of Dothan does a lot of billboards, and I don't know how many he does throughout the state, but that's a pretty good business to be in back in the day. I don't know how it is now, but you see those signs advertised here when you're riding up and down the interstate and throughout different communities.
Mike, you were asking us about Pike Liberal Arts and Troy University graduation yesterday to check on that, and I went online, and Pike Liberal Arts, according to what I read in the Messenger, dated the 13th of May, will have their graduation on June the 4th at 7 p.m. at the football field. And Troy University's
7 p.m.
And Troy University's graduation will be the 24th of July at 10 a.m. in Trojan Arena. And I'm sure they have restrictions on the number of guests each graduate can have, but that was the latest that I read on the Troy website yesterday as it relates to graduation. And
all right, give it to us one more time.
Pike Liberal Arts, the June the 4th at 7 p.m. at the football field at Pike Liberal Arts Stadium. I guess that's Delaney Curvin Field, maybe.
Yeah.
And then on July the 24th, Troy University will hold their graduation ceremonies in Trojan Arena at 10 a.m. And I'm sure there'll be restrictions there in both sides, but I didn't.
Welcome everybody back to Troy for that one. We've talked about that many times, how many people that brings to our community for a day or two. A lot of meals will be served to those people by local restaurants.
That's very good, very interesting information. Now, are they limited on how many tickets you can buy for the graduations?
I was not able to read that. I'm sure there's restrictions. My guess it's going to be.
Yeah.
I have no guess. I have no idea.
I wouldn't think Pike Liberal Arts would be concerned about that, but Troy University, of course, each
what a beautiful facility to have it in. Trojan Arena, for a basketball event arena its size, is one of the prettiest in America.
We got lucky when Abby graduated. They were determining where to have hers, and they were thinking about doing it at Sartain Hall. And at that time, Sartain Hall was a wreck. I mean, it done got dilapidated. And Troy University, we had it at that basketball arena, and it was fabulous.
Has there been a concert at that arena yet? Does anybody know?
I don't believe so.
It'd be a great venue to have a concert. You know, Sartain Hall had some great acts through the year that came to Troy.
Yeah. They've filled it up several times for graduation. I know that. And I think it'll hold over 6,000 for graduation.
Did you ever go to a concert at Sartain Hall, Mike?
Oh, gosh, many of them.
Crystal Gale, Christopher Cross.
The Beach Boys were there.
Roy Orbison there one time. I saw the Four Seasons there. And
the Allman Brothers played there.
Jimmy Buffett
played there.
George Carlin did a comedy gig there. I saw Christopher Cross.
The Beach Boys have been there.
I remember the saxophone solo, the Christopher Cross concert. Their saxophonist came out on the floor.
Let's see how well you guys can. What did Roy Orbison sing?
Pretty woman walking down the street.
He sings Crying.
Oh, I love Roy Orbison. You know, he was one of the 4 members of the Traveling Wilburys. Michael, see if you can name the others. Maybe it's 5 members.
George Harrison, Tom Petty. I thought there was only 4 in there.
Bob Dylan,
Dylan in there.
Roy Orbison, and
then you had somebody that was kind of unknown.
Yeah, but he's really good. It was Lynn of ELO. I think he was really the
What was that question again? That interests me.
Dad doesn't remember this group.
They cut 2 albums, but they were both great. I have them. It's the Traveling.
Tom Petty was from Gainesville, Florida.
Yeah, I think wasn't Leonard Skinner from Gainesville, Florida too, or near there? Maybe Jackson.
They're from Jacksonville.
Okay.
Leonard Skinner, the group's name came from their high school, junior high PE coach was Leonard Skinner.
I've heard that.
Wow.
I saw a documentary on it. Hey, if anybody out there wants to go alligator hunting, you need to have your license by June 2nd. It's $22 to kill up to 260 gators. You have 5 different zones where you have tags to kill alligators. Locations are in the southwest Alabama zone, in Baldwin County, Mobile County, Washington, Clark, and Monroe. Those dates will start in August. And then you have the coastal zone as well, where you can shoot alligators. Southeast Alabama zone, as well as Barber, Coffee, Covington, Dale, Geneva, Henry, Houston, Russell. You can kill gators, and you can also kill gators in Wilcox and Dallas. And then you can also kill gators at Lake Eufaula.
Boy, there's.
So,
exciting
times for alligator hunters coming up. I would like to go kill a gator. That'd be kind of fun.
Steve
I want
Camp's
to be the
probably
shotgun
done it.
guy.
I remember when they first allowed that about 10 years ago, and it was just you could just get 1 or 2, but you said they can get 260 now?
They have 260 tags.
Oh, okay.
The different zones offer different tags where you can, I want to go down there with that guy Troy Landry from Swamp People and go down there one day, like a Cajun experience, riding around all day shooting alligators.
You talking about being scared now? That'd be the trip right there now.
Well, they got to do it because alligators are everywhere. I mean, they're getting overpopulated. And I've heard from several people that there's just a ton of them at Lake Eufaula.
Oh, yeah.
Which makes me not want to swim in.
Lake Eufaula, they're over 14 feet.
Yeah, they're everywhere. They're
I used to go to my.
3 of those.
What days of the month again?
You gotta have your license now, but the hunts start in August.
Okay.
3 of those counties border Pike County. Coffee, Dale, and
It's
what was the other
just
one?
1 month out of the year.
Have we ever seen any in Pike County? Do we have them? I'm sure we do.
Years ago.
Yeah, they've had some
Yeah.
at Crow Lake, is what they've said.
Yes, I've heard reports of that.
You know, we were talking about fishing yesterday, Mike, and Forrest works out at Pike County Lake part-time. Do people still fish at y'all's lake at by Crow's Hill?
It's private. It's a private thing.
But does it got fish in it, or?
What do you think?
Yeah. But I've never really seen anybody out there fishing.
You never seen the people that stop their car across the road and fish in the little creek?
Yeah, I have seen that.
Yeah, people fish in the little creek across the road. They've been doing that for years.
Well, I might have mentioned something I shouldn't have. If it's now that people.
It is definitely a private thing.
All right.
But you know the right people.
Yeah. I get my cane pole out there and my RC Cola and moon pies and.
Do they even allow people to fish Lake Lagoon on the university campus anymore?
I don't believe so. I think that's off limits to the public.
They pulled a gator out of there years ago when Abby was little, and about a week before, I took her over there fishing with a cane pole. Same day, they pulled a gator out of a doctor's pond out of North Alabama that was coming out of their pond and had a little girl playing. Same day.
I befriended a pastor in Montgomery when I was selling advertising for Cumulus. He bought some ads from me. His church is right off of I-85 going towards the Pike Road exit. And he told me that one day he was coming back to his car in the church parking lot and heard a noise and looked under there, and there was about a 9-foot gator under his car.
Didn't they have one of the largest alligator farms off of 94 in Montgomery County?
Yeah.
They had one, yes. There was an alligator farm there, but we're not trying to scare anybody this morning. You know, hey, where there's water, there's alligators.
I'm just trying to let people know that they can hunt them if they want to hunt them.
Oh, yeah. You can go online to Alabama.com.
I bet Steve Camp's probably hunted them before. Outdoorsman he is.
What is the month? Is it August or what?
Yeah, the hunts start in August.
Are they more than 1 month at a time, or how many months is it?
One of the days runs through August through September, and then one of them runs through August 14th through October the 5th.
Okay, so that would be probably.
Basically, you just get like a cane pole and you tie like a chicken or something like that on there with hooks.
Let's don't even talk about those things. Those things are illegal.
No, that's the way they do them on the shows, Dad. I've seen the shows on television.
Well, let's get off of it. We don't know
Okay.
about it.
You got alligators all around you in that lake across from where you are right now.
I'll tell you right now, you better be careful. You could be fined a lot of money if you don't know what you're doing.
We're talking about getting tags and making it legal.
Let's just say that I don't know many people, and I've been around quite a while, that says, let's go alligator hunting. I don't know many people that have done that.
It's legal in the state of Alabama. That's what I'm talking about.
I don't even want to go look for rattlesnakes.
You know, you see them all the time on golf courses in Florida. People are just kind of used to them. It don't even seem to faze them. But what's worse than an alligator, I understand, is a crocodile. They are bigger and meaner, and thankfully we don't have any crocodiles in America.
What's the difference between a crocodile and an alligator?
Isn't it salt water?
Yeah, they're saltwater. Saltwater crocs.
Crocodiles
More aggressive.
they kill a lot of people and animals. But yeah, don't worry. I'm not ever going alligator hunting or crocodile hunting.
Let's get off that subject.
All right, the Auburn, the NBA.
It feels like we're talking about something illegal when it's actually on AL.com. I'm reading an article about it right now.
All right, what else you got for us?
The basketball pre-draft, if they have it, or when they have it, the kid from Auburn, Isaac Okoro, he's projected to go number 5, and the guard from Alabama, Kyra Lewis Jr., is expected to go number 16. And the overall number 1 pick is the James Wiseman, the center, the 7 1-inch center from Memphis is projected to go to the Golden State
Well, I'll
Warriors.
make a quick comment. I cannot remember the last time 2 players from Alabama colleges went in the first round.
Did Horry go in the first round?
I mean, Lewis is only 19. You know, he graduated high school a year early, so that's, you know.
I bet Horry did.
Be a lottery pick.
He might have gone in the first round, but Alabama's had very few go in the first round. Auburn's had a couple too, but it's been a long time.
Yeah, the Georgia guard, that Anthony Edwards, he's projected to go number 2 to Cleveland, and so. And
the big news in the NBA, they're trying to figure out if they're going to try to finish the season. Of course, LeBron James and the Lakers are playing well. You know, it's one of those type things where I don't know if you go right into the playoffs or how that's going to work. Of course, Major League Baseball can't make up their mind as far as paying players. Players are, you know, not wanting to come back at half their salary and play 82 games. So definitely going to be interested to see what happens with pro sports. I know golf will start back not this weekend, but next weekend. So hopefully we'll start seeing some more pro sports.
I like the way
I'm missing it tremendously.
Hockey's has about made their decision to go straight to the playoffs. Whoever's the top seeds go. The season's over with the rest of them, and the other teams.
No, I've never seen a hockey game in person, but everybody I've talked to that has says it is really fun, exciting, and says watching it live is a lot different than watching it on TV.
I lived in Birmingham, and I guess it was when I first moved out, probably the late 90s, and they had a minor league hockey team called the Birmingham Bulls, and we used to go to those games a lot at the BJCC, and it was a lot of fun. You talk about a lot of fights. They got in fights every game. But you know, hockey is one of those sports that, like up in Nashville, you know, when they went to the Stanley Cup, I mean, the whole town got into it. We had friends up there, and everybody was wearing their jerseys. Their kids were wearing jerseys to school. I mean, people get into it.
It's fast, isn't it? TV doesn't capture how fast these guys are moving on the ice. That is what I take away.
Of course, we got to mention also that it looks like the kids are going to be able to report to campus starting next week, as far as you know, off-season program, as far as working out with the strength and conditioning coaches. So it looks like Troy's going to have to be back next week. Or is it the 8th that Troy will be back? No, Alabama and Auburn will be back on the 8th. I guess Troy might be back next week. Is that right?
I think Clemson's coming back on the 8th.
They can come and actually start working out as a team, I want to say.
Forrest has some news on.
Excuse me, not necessarily as a team, but they can start working out.
Forrest has some news on a big announcement South Alabama football just made.
Yeah, they're going to play Ole Miss home and home in 28-29, home and home. We're going to play it Ole Miss first, and then they'll play at the Hancock Whitney Stadium,
which is opening this year, right?
It's supposed to be opening this year.
I haven't seen any pictures of it. Have you seen any?
I have not.
Will Steve Campbell still be the coach then?
I don't know. Is that Hancock Bank, you think? Hancock, what's the name?
Yeah, Hancock Whitney Bank. They have them down here down here in Sandusky.
Name of it, Hancock Whitney Bank.
That's what I mean, they have branches down here.
You know, talking about stadium.
Hancock Whitney Stadium.
Yeah. Well.
And of course, that's going to be huge for the University of South Alabama to have a on-campus facility. And you know, of course, they've used last Memorial Stadium, the old stadium there in Mobile for years. And look for Southern, the University of South Alabama football program and total sports program to really be enhanced by all this.
I think that professional baseball team left Mobile, the Bay Bears. Haven't they?
Yeah, they're playing in Biloxi now.
Yeah, they've left Mobile.
Well, you've got Troy, which has a beautiful stadium that they recently improved a couple of years ago. South Alabama has now built a new stadium, and UAB is building a new stadium. So all of Troy's rivals have beautiful new facilities.
It's all about facilities. facilities. You got to have facilities. You got to have, the great, practice fields. You got to have the video games and the ping pong tables. You got to have all this stuff to show off to recruits. It's just one of those things where I think at Clemson they have some like a little water park where there's like slides and stuff going into a pool.
Wow.
There's all kinds of stuff going on in recruiting.
Will Troy University ever build an indoor facility?
They need one.
They do.
The high school, Charles Thurston High School has an indoor facility. And Troy University does.
Andalusia has one.
Greenville has an indoor facility.
I'll tell you the one thing, and I know Troy has a great track, but Andalusia, one of the things that they've done when they built that track down there, they can have all kind of track meets in that part of Alabama, and high schools are just in need of that. And track is one of those sports that needs a little bit of nurturing. It's huge in Texas, but track is just so phenomenal for all sports.
People don't have the tracks in their towns. Yeah, that's a good point, Forrest.
That's right.
I even wish
Troy. An article about merging the Conference USA and the Sun Belt conferences and making like a super conference, and it's based on the coronavirus and how it's affected all these athletic budgets. That you would have like 3 different divisions within the Conference USA and the Sun Belt, but it's just one of those where if you had those regional games, you wouldn't have to fly, and the athletic budget would be a lot less. Having more of a regional feel, but that would be crazy to see that many teams in the conference.
That's interesting, Mike. Yeah.
You're talking about 30 teams in a conference.
Well, that's going to be a lot of ripple effects from the economic impact of Corona. Johnny Williams just told us.
Troy would be in a conference with UAB. They'd be in a conference with Southern Miss. It would be great for Troy. It'd be a lot of games. You'd probably play Louisiana Tech. You'd play Western Kentucky again, probably Middle Tennessee State again.
Tulane would probably go into that conference too, probably.
Yeah, so there's a lot of teams that Troy used to play that would come back into to the schedule.
Getting back to track, Forrest, you'll know this. Does Charles Henderson High School have a track program?
Yes, they do.
Where do they train? At Troy University?
At University. But I kind of wish they had a facility around the middle school track, the middle school football field, or develop a track behind where the band field is. Don't do away with the band field, but if you've got it on campus, it just is a lot better to train because
there have been some good track athletes come out of Troy.
I know the little Watson girl, Kevin Watson's youngest girl, Sydney, did real good in the javelin, and she may have an opportunity to go to Troy University as it relates to track. And I met the track coach the other day at the lake. He came to the lake. Is it Coach Jones?
We met him at Bird Drugs, Mike.
And
he was the track coach at Troy University.
Right. Yeah, Philip Jones is a track coach at Charles Henderson High School, and he's doing a great job. And they do have a team, both male and female. But the Troy University track coach, he was at the lake the other day and was fishing. And
it's a great opportunity. Tell us a little bit about the lake and the new working hours for the lake.
Well, it's wide open. It's a tremendous asset to Pike County and the city of Troy. The city of Troy operates that through the recreation department, through Dan Smith. The lake manager is Brian Meadows, and we have about 7 staff members. It's open every day of the week with the exception of Wednesdays. And Wednesdays is designed to clean it up and do fishing game officials will come from time to time and do their work there. But the lake opens up at 5:45 each morning, and it will close at 7:15. And we have boats for rent. You can rent a boat with a battery, trolling motor, life jackets, oars, cushions, the whole gamut. We have a bait shop, worms, crickets, and there's a possibility of us getting minnows. They're making a determination about that. But when you come to the lake, make sure you stop into the office. If you're over 65 years of age, it's free to fish, but you still have to have a permit with you. If you're between ages of 16 and 64, you must have an Alabama fishing license if you fish with a rod and reel. The only exception to that is if you are a Pike County resident, and you're between the ages of 12 and 64, you can fish with a cane pole without getting a fishing license. Only Pike County residents. But if you're between 12 and 15, you do not have to have a fishing license, but you must pay for a permit, which is $3.75 each day you come and fish the lake.
What is the biggest fish caught out there, if you know?
They probably have caught, I know one little fella has caught almost a 5-pounder the other day, but they're catching big ones, but a lot of those bass folks, they'll throw them back. But
So is the great Brian Meadows out there giving pitching lessons as well, if anybody wants to learn how to throw the ball?
No, he didn't do that. Now, we have an archery range. You can come in and sign in for the archery range. You have to have a fishing license or a hunting license. Or if you have a youth, they can come and shoot with adult supervision, but there's probably 10 targets at different distances right behind the bait shop. In a safe shooting area this was put in by the state of Alabama within the past year.
This is something that happened when I was gone from Troy, reopening the lake and fixing it up and letting the city of Troy
Have you
manage
been out
it.
there?
Oh, yeah, several
it's
times.
clean as a whistle.
Mike and I have talked about all the adventures our family has done, the kill time during this last surreal 2 months. You know what the wife and kids did yesterday, Mike and Mike? They went bowling in Enterprise.
Wow.
I was working on my story, so I couldn't go with them. But they said that the bowling alley they went to had been closed for 2 months. There was hardly anybody there.
Is your son left-handed?
No.
Somebody videoed that.
Well, he's
yesterday.
4 years old. They had to give him one of these both kids, one of these little ramps that they can roll the ball down.
Yeah.
But Carrie, my wife, she bowled a 98 and said she had 3 strikes. I don't know if I believe her.
Now, she's an English. Is she an English teacher?
She's an English teacher.
Yeah.
She loves to bowl.
The kids love Ms. Rice.
Don't they have like a conference room out there if you wanted to bring some work people out there?
Yes.
Have like a day at the lake?
You sure can. Now, you have to rent that through the rec department. Call 566-4031.
Hey, Max is calling in. If I lose y'all, call back, okay? I'm going to try to get 3 lines on.
Okay.
Let's see.
All right, yes. Of course,
Well, he's working on that. You can rent the conference room for birthday parties, meetings.
Hello, is this Max Howell?
I believe it is.
All right, Max, this is Bill Rice, and I'm trying to get 3 people on the phone system, so if I mess up, please forgive me. All right, stay with us.
I understand, Bill. City of Troy, and of course, schools like Charles Henderson, Goshen High.
Let's see, I got Max back. Let's see, conference.
Will be recognized. Is that you, Max? How you doing?
No, I'm still trying to get 3 on. Let's see.
Trying to get Mike.
They mentioned a few of these guys. Again today, some of the recipients we ended yesterday with.
Okay, I got 2 of y'all on. I think Michael might have dropped off to let Max on. Max, you there?
Good morning. I'm right here.
Tell us what's going on in Mississippi.
Well, right now we're just kind of anticipating the launch of the football season. Of course, everything NCAA passed through all of the coaches, the high school coaches started meeting late last week, and I think they'll start somewhere around the 6th of August with their weightlifting programs, and the colleges certainly right behind that. And I've read, I think it's a couple of this. I think starts on the 8th. They're allowing the teams to come back in, and they'll have to stay a week, I believe, in the training room, in the weight room, and then get out on the field. High schools can't do 7-on-7. With competition, they can do it within after the first 10 days, I believe, they go on the field and start practicing. So it's starting to come back, and I can tell just an attitude. I'm on the street almost every day in Tupelo and in the surrounding communities. It's kind of it's cautious, but kind of exciting to get ready to get back into a routine.
Before you called in, we were talking about some big news that involved Ole Miss. South Alabama and Ole Miss are going to play a home-and-home series beginning in 2028. Did you heard that?
Yeah, I don't think I'll be around by then. I don't.
Yeah.
Well, what's the date on that again? 2001.
2028, 29.
Oh, yeah, I don't know if I'll be around. Hopefully, though, the Lord let me be around there. I'll go to that game.
Well, you know,
be around.
we'll get a chance to maybe read about it or watch it on TV, Bob. I don't think I'm going to a stadium.
Well, South Alabama did play Mississippi State at home a couple years ago. I think South Alabama beat Mississippi State one year, didn't they?
Yes, they did. Yeah. And I think all of that, Bill, and Mike and I have talked about that before. When they reduced the scholarship limits, raised the academic standards several years ago, and I'll be the first to tell you, I think I was recruiting officer at Ole Miss at that time. That was probably the best balance that NCAA could have done for schools like Troy and others when they limited the number of incoming freshmen they could have and put a cap on the total scholarship number. And I think there lies where the problem is when you go, we already know about Troy. I mean, I'm giving Troy the benefit of turning LSU's program around when they went in Baton Rouge a couple of years ago and won that one. And I think everybody got together. I had a great friend, still do, that was on that staff. And he told them going in, he had coached at Troy at one time, and he told them then, you better be prepared. And Troy went in and won that one, and I think it turned LSU's program around. So I think we can cite examples all around historically.
You know, you make a good point, Max, that when these big name programs lose to a mid-major like Troy, the sky doesn't fall. Alabama lost several to Louisiana Monroe and Northern Illinois. But that argument is probably used against Troy, where the Alabama and Auburns won't schedule them. But even if the sky did fall and Troy won that game, Alabama and Auburn would be fine.
What happened to the next week when Troy played 10 days later after they beat LSU? 1-4 South Alabama beat them.
I know it.
Yeah, about a bit of it.
10 days later in Troy on a Wednesday.
Mac, we were also talking about a big thing that happened at South Alabama now. They've got their own indoor campus stadium now, which is going to really help their program. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt about that. But Mike, you got to recruit the kids. You got to coach them. You know, I've seen facilities all over this country that were great facilities. But if you don't have the total package, that's certainly a key to it on your recruiting trip. But you got to make the right decisions on kids. We talked about the X's and O's and the Jimmy Joes for a long time. And I'm proud to see them do that. Don't get me wrong.
South Alabama opens up at Southern Miss, I believe, and then they play Grambling State. And on the 19th of September, South Alabama travels to Florida to play this year.
You know, talking about the facilities with this economic impact after COVID-19, I think this spending spree on improving facilities is getting ready to end. And so all the programs that did improve their facilities before this happened will benefit from that.
Yeah, but I think it'll stop, it'll slow down, but it's not going to end.
Okay.
I mean, that's like saying Amazon and Walmart's going to quit growing. That ain't going to happen. It's the same thing with the sports.
I don't think there's any question in anybody's mind that the now on-campus stadium is going to be named Hancock Whitney Stadium in Mobile. On-campus stadium, I think it holds around 30,000. And then now the on-campus facility is being constructed in Birmingham. That's going to really help UAB's program, don't you think, with a 40,000 seat stadium on campus? Well, actually, downtown there in Birmingham.
Bill Clark. Anyway, and certainly the facility will add to it. But remember, both stadiums, in Birmingham in particular, that's a
You're breaking up on us. a
Yeah,
little bit.
Max, you're breaking up a little bit. I don't know if, what's going on.
The first game that UAB will host New Mexico State on the 3rd of September. Then Alabama A&M comes to UAB, and then on the third game of the year, UAB travels to Miami.
So that
to play.
September 3rd will be one of the first games in America in Birmingham.
That's what it says. New Mexico State is coming.
I think Alabama played New Mexico State a couple years ago, or either New Mexico.
Y'all ever been out to those schools out west in New Mexico?
No.
Let me just tell you, the rodeos draw more people than the football program.
I've been there before. I've been to that facility before, and of course, right up the road is you've got, but like you said, a lot smaller level, no question about it.
Very true.
It would be interesting to get Mike and Max together and add up all the college stadiums they have been in their lives. It might be easier to say, which stadium have you not been in?
Oddly enough, a couple of them, I've never been to the Rose Bowl, but yet I've coached twice in the Fiesta Bowl. I've coached in the Orange Bowl. I've coached in the Sugar Bowl. I've done, I've been fortunate, not just in attendance, but been on the sidelines in a lot of those.
And you've been to smaller stadiums at Division II programs too, like Mike has.
Quite a few, quite a few. And some was, at the time we played in some of those, and Troy was included. I actually have been in high school, coached at high school games that had more attendance there. When we were at Escambia, we drew 25,000 almost every Friday night.
Wow.
Of course, remember the team that we had was the number one high school team in America that year. We had 19 Division I players, and had Emmett Smith, and Florida took 7 of those kids off that one high school team. Yeah. So, I mean, Mike's heard me say it 100 times. I never claimed to be a sport guy, but I tell you what I could do. I could read a roster and tell you where the players were.
When I was a sophomore at Charles Henderson High School in 1980, I bet Charles Henderson drew just as much or more than Troy University. That was the year we had a great schedule and won the state championship. But Troy also had a good team that year. Mike, you'll maybe be interested in this. In 1980, Charles Henderson went undefeated. Alabama won its first 8 games of the season before being stunned by Mississippi State at Mississippi State. Everybody remembers that game.
I remember that, yeah.
And so all the teams I was interested in, and then Troy University won their first 7 or 8 games when they had Willie Tullis as quarterback. So all the teams, the 3 teams I cared about, were undefeated, going into November.
Was that Chan Gailey? Was that Chan Gailey's? Was Chan?
No, in 1980 that was Coach Bradshaw. That was probably his last really good. They lost 2 tough, heartbreaking games to North Alabama and Jack State. I think they finished 8-2, but they could have easily been undefeated.
That was a great team with Willie Tullis, like you said. Willie Tullis was the quarterback, and they ran the Veer.
I remember that, yeah.
And had a real good team. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, we're coming to you live from our studios on South Grundy Street, Troy, on Troy, Alabama. And of course, you can go to this show at dialing TC2. And of course, again, we're going to you live on Facebook this morning, and also a lot of the 12 county area of Central and South Alabama. We got Max Howell, very well known sports prognosticator. I wouldn't say prognosticator, but analyst. I know you're getting excited about it. Of course, Bill Rice Jr. From our studios on South Grundy Street, along with Lee and yours truly, Mike Amos, and then Mike Amos also from Great Beach. So we've got a full house this morning. And Rice, of course, when you interview a guy like Max Howell, he's been out there, he's been there, he's done that, and one thing, you mentioned, Max, that it excites a lot of people because it's getting to be such a big thing, is to have this 7-on-7. That has been great for high school football, this 7-on-7, don't you think?
Oh, I don't think there's any doubt, Mike. I think a couple of things that really changed the landscape, both at the high school and college level. 7-on-7 high school, the competition is the biggest thing, I think, in a long, long time in high school sports. And then I think the invitation-only camps at the college rank, which makes a competitive thing. If Troy needs a wide receiver, they're going to have a competitive camp toward the end of the summer with number of wide receivers there. They'll invite 10. These are invitation-only camps. And what they're trying to do is narrow their list down of offerings for the next year. I think those are the two most important things that's actually happened. And I think along with the early enrollment for the college kids, the high school kids graduating at Christmas, coming in January, gets an extra semester. I think all of those probably have added more to the quality of play that we get a chance to see both on Friday night and on Saturdays in the fall.
You know, one thing I've noticed is the quarterbacks coming out of high school seem to be much more prepared, ready to play instantly. And for the reasons you just mentioned, probably a lot of these 7-on-7 camps, and some of them have private coaches. But back when I was younger, you would never think that a high school freshman could come in and start at a college.
And I remember it wasn't too long ago that they couldn't even report until June 1st. And then they made rules that they could go, they could start the second semester during the summer around the June 26th. They could enroll and get accustomed to college life. But now, like you said, and Max, I know it's got to be huge when you sign a top-notch quarterback and you can actually get him on your campus in January.
Yes.
That's a great advantage for a freshman really being ready to go when the season starts.
Now, I don't think there's any doubt, Mike, but I think part of that thing, early enrollment, both in January for those kids, but also for the summer kids, was to put them on scholarship. The reason they didn't come because kids couldn't afford to come, and enroll and pay their own way. So they made the scholarship year round.
I remember, y'all remember a couple years ago, Tua's first spring game, 8A game in Alabama. He was one of those students that came in early. Heck, he threw for about 300 yards in the spring scrimmage when he still should be in high school. That was, and I remember
Max, we don't use the word enough. It's called maturity. Maturity.
Yeah.
We don't use that word enough, do we?
No, and I think that's changed the recruiting too, Mike, in the process. These coaches now strive to get that, top 10 recruiting class around the country, and that's why they broaden their base. No longer used to. I mean, when Brian came to Alabama very well, talking about they had to win the state first in recruiting, and then they would go out. Maybe why? Because they wanted the fans to come fill the stadium. But as the programs got bigger and stronger, we use Alabama obviously as an example, but the Clemson program, and you go to Ohio State and Michigan and Southern Cal and Texas and all the big names throughout the years, is that the bigger the program got, the broader your base could be, and the smart coaches took advantage of that.
Yeah.
They still want to get those local kids in, but they can't take a local kid in lieu of a highly talented kid that can help them win ball games. That's changed. Even when I was at Troy, we moved outside the local area because remember we were taking transfers and junior college kids from all over the country at that time. I mean, guess what? We won a national championship doing it that way.
They analyzed Tennessee, how well they're recruiting, and a lot of it has to do with their coaching staff has a lot of Alabama ties. They were from Alabama or coached in the state of Alabama, and that's, and Pruitt has been in Alabama, but a lot of his coaches
Derek Ansley's one
has tied. T. Martin I believe he's still up there, and in Troy we get to travel to Knoxville the 21st of November to play Tennessee this year.
Max, going to your point, I remember 2 years ago, I think Alabama signed a recruiting class that had one kid from the state of Alabama. I mean,
you're right, Bill.
And then back in Coach Bryant's day, you would have had 85% of the players would have been from Alabama.
Absolutely right. That's the swing. That's that's what's happened. But remember, in Coach Bryant's era, everybody was doing that, Bill. Everybody did it that way. And it was almost a disgrace to let a good high-profile player get out of the state. They were so competitive at that time. Go ahead.
No, I'm listening to you.
No, I just said, but because of that, though, guys, that's when Auburn reached into Georgia and into Florida, because Alabama was beating them pretty bad on the in the recruiting era, and then on top of that, they were winning on Saturdays. So all of that plays a role in the evolution that we've seen, and sometimes I guess I get a little discouraged at some of the younger writers and all that don't pay attention to what happened 25, 30, 50 years ago, and to get the programs today as they are today. Not saying that that Nick Saban couldn't coach like Coach Bryant did, because I don't think that's true. But where would Dabo Swinney be at Clemson? We just use that as an example. How could these programs, without the history and the evolution of these various programs around the country, would college football be like it is today?
I've made the point you make, Max, that there's an ongoing debate about who's the GOAT, the greatest of all time, Nick Saban or Paul Bryant. And one point, and most people say Nick Saban because of his national championships. I say not so fast. And one point I make is that Coach Bryant had a dynasty for 2 decades, but he was doing it with 90% local Alabama players that were not the blue chip 4-star players. Nick Saban's done it by getting the best high school football players in America.
Yes, he has. Very true.
So but you got to give credit to Saban for doing that recruiting, but he has more to work with, is what I'm saying.
Well, the quality of high school coaching is improved as long as the development of the athlete has improved, the physical specimen.
It does, and I think the whole thing is that Coach Bryant did it because of the number of assistant coaches that he was able to bring in and the quality. At one time, I believe he had 45 assistant coaches that had worked for him that had become head coaches around the country. And I think therein lies the success ratio certainly plays a role in that.
Is there something also that's related to Clemson that they're able to maintain the core of their staff? They have been able to maintain that. And Alabama losing. We're going to see what LSU, they've lost some key coaches this year. See what kind of effect that will have on LSU.
Very true.
But
Let me tell you something that we and Troy don't want to see happen. Max, is that NCAA go to a super conference that could kill what Troy has built so far. So far Troy as a Division 1A program can say, well, we're on the same level as Alabama, Auburn, LSU, Ohio State, those guys right there. But money plays a huge part, and there might be, and I'm saying might be, 20 teams that have all that big-time money that we're talking about, like Alabama losing 100 million people, $100 million, if we don't have college football. Well, there's probably 15 or 20 teams that can say they're in that caliber. If that happens, that they went to a super conference, that could hurt Alabama because we would be dropping a level of competition. Right now, we're exactly where we need to be, and hopefully they don't eventually go to what we call a super conference, Max. What do you think?
Well, I think certainly that's got merit, Mike, but I think what's going to happen is it is all about the money. It's all about the money, but there's always going to be room for Troy to make their budget because they're going to be able to schedule those. Now, unless they go to 9 or 10 conference games, there lies where the problem is. It cuts out teams like Troy, which is to play LSU.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
Yeah, I think that's probably the big threat to some of the mid majors particularly. But I think change is going to happen, guys. game, if you choose to be in the game, then you have to make the adjustments.
You know, you talk about money. That's right. And I think the big schools are going to go to the 8 or 9 games conference schedules, or they're going to say that they need to schedule other big programs to help with attendance, to help with TV ratings, and ensure they keep these big TV contracts. And you're absolutely right. If that happens, these, quote, money games that the Troys and South Alabamas get, they're not going to be able to get them in the future. So, you know, what is going to happen when they lose this revenue?
I think there's a couple of levels, though, guys, that we have to consider. I think Troy has already built their reputation on being in that second tier. I really do. I think the ones that need to worry are those that drop way on down, to the schools that really have, the Coastal Carolinas and the programs that have no opportunity to win a ball game at that level. Troy's already shown that they can be competitive.
Like New Mexico State, you mean?
They're going to be pretty safe. I'd say in the next 20 or 30 years anyway. And after that, my crystal ball gets a little foggy.
Yep.
But what I'm saying is that we want them to keep it the way it is right now and give Troy the opportunity to play the North Carolina State and the Tennessees and make a little money by doing so. Troy is not going to build its program against teams like South Alabama. We got to have the big money game.
I'll make one point that most people, I don't think, realize. They say, oh, all these programs are so rich. Max, back me up on this. I would say that they're 3% of the athletic programs in the country, if you consider all levels, make money or not.
That's about right. Yeah, it's not
most of them are already losing big amounts of money and have to be subsidized by taxpayer money or the university itself.
Yeah, fees and that kind of stuff. But here's the reason of, guys, is that because NCAA is mandated to stay at Division I, you've got to have 18 sports. And you tell me, I can guarantee 95% of the schools across the country does not make money in 3 sports. In at least 3.
No question about it.
Maybe football, baseball, big money out of it. Women's sports, occasionally Tennessee's basketball is world renowned for that. We can see Mississippi State's popped up there in women's basketball at the Division I level. But guys, it's in my opinion, they need to bring that thing back down to maybe 12 sports. Therein lies where the dream comes from, and then the travel that goes with that budgeting situation. When the golf team has got to go from Auburn, Alabama to Southern Cal and play in a tournament, that's ridiculous. That's just an example. I worked in budgets in Division I, and I can tell you what that dream is. It's amazing how much money you can spend, and it all has to come from basically the football or basketball.
And when they cut programs, they cut men's programs because they can't cut the women's programs.
Yeah, that's it.
And Johnny Williams, Mike got his friend Johnny Williams on our show the other day, and he made some fantastic points about sports programs that are already being canceled. Now more will come, and he even went so far to say that entire colleges might close in the coming years and decades.
I mean, like let's just say Alabama is playing Ole Miss, and they fly to Ole Miss.
Yeah, that's true.
It's amazing. He brought it up that you're right. They play the Florida State and fly to Florida State. It's just that's where the rich folks are. Troy wouldn't be any doubt that they would take a bus. And that's one of the big differences that you find is transportation to and from the game.
Mike, you remember
to pay the fly.
Because I was on that show with Johnny, if you remember last week.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I think the other side of that is the supplement travel, the bands, for example.
level, it's going to really hurt because the band is so very important.
I understand.
I tell you, we're going to, and you got close to 400 people marching on your band. You know, the band program is huge at Troy. That's 400 kids that go to school, play full tuition pretty much. And what are they going to do with the band program? That's very important.
Well, it is. I mean, they play at their home games is what they do. They don't travel on the road.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
I mean, there's ways to overcome some of that. And what I say earlier on, it's going to be distasteful. It's not going to be popular. There's a lot of changes that's going to happen over the next few years. That thank goodness, Mike, we're old as we are. We're not going to get a chance to witness a lot of that.
Max, let me ask you this question. I've made this point on the show. With the importance of economics, it's going to become even more important with the recession economy. Don't you think it's more likely that the Alabama and Auburns will want to schedule the Troys and the South Alabamas and even the Jacksonville States of the world so they can put some fannies in the stands and sell some tickets?
Listen, Bill, I almost got fired at Ole Miss for making speeches about that. I really did, because I mean, you think it's bad in Alabama? Come to Mississippi and talk about Ole Miss. And of course, Mississippi State stepped out and played Southern Miss. Ole Miss hadn't played Southern Miss in 25 years because the last time they played them, they got beat. And I've fought that battle, and it is all about economics. And my position was, and I was a recruiting coordinator at Ole Miss when I was making those talks. And my point was, and I'd make a talk to a group, they'd raise their hand, well, how you going to keep from getting beat? And here was my answer. And no disrespect, but I said, if I'm at Ole Miss and Southern Miss beats me on again, they ought to get it. Ought to fire me. I mean, I felt strongly about that. But you're absolutely right. That's the economic, but every state's got that. Arkansas State doesn't play Arkansas. Ole Miss doesn't play Southern Miss. I just go down to
LSU, Louisiana Tech.
In Louisiana, the state of Louisiana, they voted that you must play teams from Louisiana. That was approved several years ago. Don't you agree?
Oh yeah, see, it takes something like that though, Mike, and then you got to have a political atmosphere. You got to remember that 90% of the lawmakers in the state of Mississippi graduate from Ole Miss, because that's what the law school is. And that's the ticket to get elected to the legislature to be a lawyer. And you got to understand the politics.
I'm gonna throw something out that logistic-wise, I don't know if you could do it. I could see all of the big schools, especially, trying to go to 8 home games. 8 home games would enhance any team's, especially not necessarily the Alabama and Auburn, but the smaller schools like Troy and Southern Miss and people like that. Saying if they could work it where they could play 8 games at home, that would have a lot to do with how much money they make during the season. What do you think? I don't know if they could do it or not. I think they could do it or not.
Not under the current conditions they can, but once the SEC expands again, once they take in 2 to 4 more teams, which I think is coming in the next few years, then you've got enough teams to do that.
You agree that financially it would be a good thing if you could play 8 home games because that's where your most of your revenue comes from is your home games, wouldn't you say?
Well, sure it is.
LSU and Nichols play this year.
Yeah, you're fortunate enough just to cover your travel expense on a away game.
I agree. But to Florida State and but Tennessee and Knoxville and the bus Southern Miss.
You know what? They snuck in kind of cool how they did it. The 12-game schedule about 15 years ago. There was always forever. First it was 10 games, then it became 11, and then they let the schools play 12 games every couple years. You couldn't do it every year, and then suddenly everybody was playing 12 games, which gave them all these teams one more home game.
And when we went Division I, did we just play like 4 home games for a few years?
Yeah. Troy did.
Let me ask you this: Alabama, how many games, not counting playoffs, how many games the high school play in Alabama?
10, mostly.
10 with one warm-up.
Dropping the 9.
Yeah, they have
Yeah,
jamborees.
It's 11. You got a jamboree plus 11 games, and then the playoffs.
Yeah, same reason.
And that's the reason they did that. Because they had the budget was.
And they expanded the playoff field like they do in basketball in the NCAA, and that gives the high school athletic associations another game or two to get their cut.
Baseball playoffs have expanded over the years.
And again, this is something that I open up a can of worms a little bit, but even if you dropped it to 7 home games a year, that would enhance the program tremendously. When you think that you could get 7 home games.
Already playing, Mike. There's some already playing 7 home games.
Not
every year. But there's some that's already. So that it's already there. The format's already laid out. I'm sure there's some economic guys sitting in those athletic departments and on those board of trustees that realize that it's just not a popular thing right now. You got to.
Alabama could do it right now, 7 or 8 home games.
But they got to.
But they
got to get away from the South Oranges and they got to get away from the schools.
But Alabama's been playing a lot of these neutral site games, which worked out really well for them, high-profile games. But the novelty, to me, is kind of worn off, and the fans, probably because they're broke and they've traveled so much, they don't go to these games in Dallas, or they had one in Orlando against Louisville a couple years ago.
But here's what Jerry Jones and them out there, they could carry. Okay, they will sell that out to corporate. That's a corporate game. The high rollers and all that make contributions, they go get the tickets, they can travel, they can do that. But Jerry Jones could care less if any Alabama fan show up when Alabama comes to play. He's interested in numbers that bought that ticket to come in from Dallas and that immediate area around there. The game itself is
You're gonna think I'm crazy. You're gonna think I'm crazy when I say this, but it makes sense in a way. What if during the spring, that instead of playing each other during the spring, they would actually play a team on your schedule, play a game in the spring?
Yeah.
Mike, I started that speech in the 80s to do that.
Because we talk about revenue, it would be.
It's going to happen because they need the revenue. It will happen.
Bill, I know you remember this. I was at the first couple of spring games in Alabama when Saban got there. There's 90,000 people in the stands.
It didn't charge them.
No, that's right. Absolutely.
But you know what? It could be a huge revenue game if they played a game against.
Sure.
Let's say Troy played Tulane in the
absolutely.
As a spring game and charge their admission.
You think Alabama or Auburn would play Troy as their spring game opponent? That would sell.
They might consider that. You're right. If it was going to be a good revenue game,
Yeah, I think there's so many opportunities out there that, again, those are some of the changes I guarantee is already being talked about now. We're going to see some of that over the next few years.
Well, you've seen the attendance declines are pretty glaring. I've noticed the last couple of years at all sports. It's not just college football. It's NFL football, Major League Baseball, NASCAR. And a large part of that is maybe people just want to watch on their high-def TV and avoid all the hassle. But the athletic directors are going to have to do something to boost the revenue.
Well, here's what you got. You got that situation versus the big checks they get in June or end of May at Destin. They got $45 million this year. Why? Because the television revenue was up. And that's
the other key would be playing 16 game playoff. Have a 16-team playoff. Especially the big schools would benefit from that, don't you think?
Mike, let me ask you, if you did a 16-team playoff, would you cut out the conference championship games too?
Well,
I doubt it.
Well, so let's talk about this then. You got a 12-game regular season, 1 game for conference championship, 13 games, and 16. That would make how many games in the play? That would make 3 games in the playoffs. 16 games scheduled.
Yeah. I mean, it's not what they get through. They get through the first week of December anyway. Then they got a month for the championship game.
Well, high schools play 15 if they win it all.
Well, the scenario here is what we're talking about is that they're going to have at least 1 or 2 additional pay days for these big schools for them to stay on top.
Yeah, I think.
Here's one of the answers, guys. If they go to expand it, play the first team with the best record. That's another home game for them. And that's a motivating factor for administration to be sure, that the pressure's on that coaching staff to do a good job.
You can also play those playoff games at home instead of making the fans pay the travel.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
The home game, you could do the home stadium, and then still reserve. Because remember, they play a game in the Sugar Bowl, and then they use the Sugar Bowl as a playoff game. Same thing, and they rotate those stadiums around the country for that. So there are ways to make that happen, but resistant to change is what's holding back. Time will change a lot of things, and I think this economic situation we're fixing to go through over the next couple of years is going to instigate a lot of changes.
You talk about the burden on. Okay, we need to go to a commercial, Mike.
Yeah, let's take a break. We need to take a break. We'll be right back. We got Max Howell on the line, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back.
We will be right back in 60 seconds.
We've been doing business the right way for 31 years, and now we've approached a year at the all-new Bill Jackson Ford. But don't take our word for it. We feel our customers express it the best.
I would recommend Bill Jackson to friends and family. Environment was just friendly.
It's a short drive from anywhere.
Troy Cable Security Wi-Fi doorbell camera allows you to answer the door from your smartphone when you are at home, at work, or on the go. When a visitor presses the button, Troy Cable Security sends a live video feed to your smartphone so you can see, hear, and speak to the person at your door. With the doorbell camera, you can have your porch light turn on automatically when it detects motion at night to create the appearance that someone is at home. You can view video clips so you can always know who stopped by when you are out. Troy Cable Security. You love them, protect them.
A personal touch, a high level of trust. Whether it's checking and savings accounts, personal or business loans, or our local friendly service. That's what Troy Bank and Trust customers expect. But now we offer more. Free identity theft protection for our new and existing customers, protecting your family's time, money, and good name from identity theft. Because protecting your identity is now a big part of our identity.
Here at Bill Jackson Chevrolet in Troy, we've been doing business the right way for 31 years. But don't take our word for it. We feel our customers express it the best.
Been honest in everything we've discussed with them.
When they say Jackson Satisfaction, they really mean it.
The Jackson Satisfaction is
Southern Mississippi playing.
We're back live here on Channel 52 with Channel 2 today in LA with Mike. We have Bill back with us, and on the phone is Mr. Mac from Mississippi.
Max Howell from
Mississippi. Mr. Max.
And Max, of course, all of this is hearsay, but if they put their minds together, they're gonna have to find other means of revenue, whether it's additional game or something. I just cannot see this being a better year for the people buying tickets. What do you think?
No, I think that adjustment's going to have to come by. Reality happens when it hits your pocketbook. I mean, we've got to talk about it when it hits you first. Then it's like, that old story about 2 guys talking. The other guy said, well, you have mild heart attack. The guy said, you might think it's a mild heart. Wait till you have one.
Max, you're cutting out on us just a little bit.
My point is, until it affects you, it hits you right in the face sometimes, and I think that's what we're coming to with the economics in college athletics.
Well, I'll give you an analogy, money drives everything, and things you never thought would happen because people need money. Here's
Absolutely.
gambling in every state, almost every state in this union. Why do we get it? Because the states need the tax revenue. Why are so many states legalizing marijuana? Because they want to tax it. Why do you see all these speeding and stoplight cameras in cities all over America? Because the city governments need the fine money. Same with the colleges.
Let me say this. Las Vegas has definitely been shut down, and a lot of the brain, all the guys trying to think of ways in and around all of this. But you think about it. Las Vegas is hurt worse than any one element of the game because they had to shut down. You would think that you would actually could maybe come out with a way to charge these casinos and people like that. So they're making a bunch of money for pro and college football.
All the casinos opened back up in Mississippi this past weekend. So they're back ripping and rolling right now. Of course, it's got a lottery. Right now.
Isn't that one of the locations the NBA and all those people want to go? Either Orlando or Las Vegas to play their games, hockey or basketball, their playoffs.
How many millions of dollars do those
places.
casinos give to the state of Mississippi, Max?
It looks to be worth from 3 to 4.
3 to 4 million? That's what? Billions?
That's what this is.
We're not picking them up.
Any changes? The casinos and all drop off. They almost shut down Tunica because they thought that Memphis would be able to feed that, but the economic level in Memphis, Tennessee is at one of the all-time lows right now. They're shut down I think there's only 3 big active.
I think we only have 6 or so states in the entire country that don't have lotteries yet. Of course, Alabama's one of them. But
let me tell you this, y'all. If y'all are aware where I was this weekend, let me tell you, there were a lot of people on the beaches, at the beaches, and I tell you what, I'm looking to see what kind of reports they get on the virus and how this past weekend could have affected this whole thing. Like with these people who come to Panama City and then they go back to New Orleans, they go back to Birmingham, they go back to Atlanta and all that. They bring this virus back with them. We're going through the same old scenario. So we got to, I think it's going to be very important to see how these, what the percentages were with the virus this past weekend.
it will be interesting to see. The incubation period is 2 to 14 days. So if people are getting the virus at the beach, you would expect that, in about 5 days on average, they say, they'll start coming up with symptoms. Then at 5 days after people get symptoms, they go to the hospital for the first time. So that's 10 days out.
And there's a word that we haven't used much, reality sets in. Don't you agree, Max? Reality
But Mike,
sets
that's all. Just remember, those are personal choices. And I don't need the government telling me to make my choice.
You're
if
right.
I take the risk, if I take the risk, then that's my choice. If I get sick, that was my choice.
Exactly.
I got a whole different philosophy about that. I don't get on the stoop too often about it. But the fact is, I think these states that have opened up, nowhere did they tell you got to go to the beach.
That's right.
That's a choice that they make, and that's what this country was built on. Was basically, liberty to have personal choices.
Well, there's a lawsuit.
Bad choices, guys. Don't get me wrong.
There's a lawsuit in New Jersey. There's a pastor suing the state of New Jersey because they won't allow churches to be open, but they're opening everything else but churches.
That's true.
Like,
That's right. Well, again, this is let's just say this: we don't have any examples to go by because of the way this virus has struck everybody, and it's going to be within the next few weeks. We're going to find out a lot. I really do. I really believe we will.
You know, my theory is becoming, Mike, the more I do my deep dive into COVID research, is that a lot of this spread comes from healthcare providers, hospitals, nursing homes, home health, that somehow people that are already sick are coming in contact with healthcare providers that probably are asymptomatic, don't even know they have it, and it's spreading from there.
You take everyday visit to the doctor. You know, when you walk in there, who are these folks that are in these doctors' offices, and what they're in there for? You know, you got to be very. You got to look at this thing closely. You know, because of where the virus is. You know, and how far it extends. You know.
Well, it's. I remember. Mike, when we first started talking about this, it got in everybody's mind that, yes, something has changed when the NBA suddenly in one day canceled their season. And I remember Mike Amos saying and Bill Rice Jr. agreeing that everything that's going to come after this is going to be amazingly different. And that has been proven to be true.
And what's today is going to be different tomorrow.
I want to mention the Chip Conley Awards presentation will be tomorrow, but it's at a different venue, and we'll be talking about that tomorrow on our show. But I want to mention real quickly Mario Flores, young man from Pike County, was one of the recipients, Brian Galloway. We'll mention tomorrow on our show all of these Chip Conley Award nominees, and Max, something very, very important that a lot of folks have got their pen and a pencil out. What is for dinner?
Max, you with us?
I think we lost Max. He had a bad connection.
Still on?
Oh, okay.
I'm here.
Okay. Well, you got your weekly question. What's for dinner?
Hey, Max, is this affecting your weekly what's for dinner menu?
I tell you what we did Sunday. We had a big fish cookout. We had about 12 people. I got a couple buddies that fish 2 or 3 times a week. They caught over 100 brim and crappie. We cleaned those things and cooked them for about 12 people, and we didn't have any left, Mike. We had a really good outing down at our river place, and it was good. Yeah, but overall, it's kind of effective. But these individual guys, remember, I live in Will County. The largest town here is in Fulton. And the rest of it's all, we're 29,000 people in here. We've only had about 12 or 13 cases of the virus. We've had a couple of deaths, and those, I think, overall. Those have been in nursing homes, and Bill has reported that out. And every one of them was 80 years old or more, and all had pre-existing conditions. So that, we've taken that into consideration, but we kept our group together. We don't meet every week now, but we meet at least 2 to 3 times a month. And that's good.
Mike, sounds like the three of us, we need a road trip to see Max in Mississippi.
Well, you know what? We'll do it one day. Then we'll
Let's
get
go.
Max and we'll ride down to see Jim Tompkins, see how he's doing.
Hey, Max, do you make a lot of hush puppies with all that brim?
We did jalapeno.
I did my internship under Phil Cat, Miss Phyllis Tompkins at Charles Henderson Middle School. She was my supervising teacher.
Forrest Lee also has a cooking show. He cooked a strawberry cake the other day, and boy, I tell you what, Forrest, as far as the aesthetic part of that, boy, you look like the real deal, a real chef. And we'll have this thing going nationwide. Of course, we're live on Facebook right now, but we'll have this thing going nationwide as we do. I'll just say this: Max Howell did not realize when he started all this that he's going to become a famous cook.
Well, Max could come to Troy, move back to Troy, or Force, and they could have a cooking show on Troy Cablevision.
Put in the kitchen.
Max had no idea he was going to become a cooking expert. all about what those rednecks eat, Max. Listen, we don't care about these fine diners. We want to know what those rednecks.
Those aren't rednecks that are paying for those hunting
Good,
outings.
Mike. I tell you what hooked me on cooking was seeing Justin Wilson. I used to love watching Justin Wilson all the time, I guarantee.
Hey, we're talking about Pat Dye, and our prayers and thoughts go out to him as he battles a serious health condition.
Is he still in the hospital, or is he in?
I haven't heard, Mike, but Pat Dye has a hunting club at his place, and he does what it sounds like y'all do, Max. That he has people come and hunt with him and feeds them, and
Yeah, he does.
Doesn't he do something with red maples as well? Red maple trees?
he grows red maple trees too.
Oh yeah, exactly right. It's been a lot of fun, Max. You're always very important to our show, and we appreciate you coming on every Wednesday. In the fall, I think I've gotten Larry Blaney talked into coming in on maybe on a Monday or Tuesday, and Max, a guy like Larry who has done so much in college football and was so involved with Troy for 25 plus years or more. He wants to be heard. He enjoys talking to all the folks that supported him back those days. It's a lot of fun, isn't it?
Going back to Pat Dye, I just pulled up. He was in the hospital when he tested positive for the corona. That's according to a CBS report out of Birmingham. But he was in the hospital with some health issue, and then he tested while he was there.
But we sure hope Pat Dye. Max, you know Pat Dye pretty well. He's a great guy, isn't he? But we've got you on too. I'm gonna leave it with the two of you. It's been a lot of fun today on our show, Lee and Bill, and we appreciate you so much for hanging in there with us this morning.
Well, thank you, Mike.
Mike.
Have a good day, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.
All right, and tomorrow on our show we'll go over the entire Tip Collie list.
Good.
And be a lot of fun.
We mentioned several of the names yesterday, and Forrest has been putting checks by the ones we've mentioned, so we make sure that we mention everybody. But thank you to the Exchange Club.
I want to leave Forrest with this. Forrest, life's just like a box of chocolate. You don't know which one you're going to get.
That's right.
Said Forrest Gump, who was recruited by Coach Bryant to go to Alabama.
I wore 44 when I played football in Goshen, and my daddy would say, "Run, Forrest, run!" He did. He did.
I believe it. Literally.
I wore 44.
One more time, Forrest. Say it one more time.
Run, Forrest, run!
Hey, I want to tell you a quick story.
Max, I think you need to move back to Troy, Alabama.
My wife is 38.
They didn't express this enough, though. He was scared to death. That's why he was running so fast.
Right.
My wife is 38, and when they cast the part of the child Jeannie, she went on an audition, and so Carrie Rice was almost Jeannie in the movie Forrest Gump.
That's Brian Weathers. Brian Weathers' wife is named Jeannie.
Every episode of Precise, is that what's the name of it? Versailles. I've been watching Versailles. I'm on about the 15th or 16th chapter. And that's been a real well done show.
Oh, we've run long, so we got to cut out of here. So we'll see everybody tomorrow, and you can rewatch the show at 1:30. Thank you very much.
Have a good day.
Run, Forrest.